Absolutely. Thank you, John. I appreciate the introduction and for having me on here this evening. My name is Rob Kaercher. I'm a co-founder of Absolute Solar. We're based out of the Lansing area. Actually, have been very passionate about climate change for a very long time. That's how we actually got started creating this business. I met my co-founder actually in the Environmental Law Society at MSU College of Law while we were pursuing our law degrees. And from there, we just really made a commitment to try to taking carbon off the grid in real time, as opposed to trying to change policy from top down. That was years ago, and the rest is sort of history. And we pursue residential installs, obviously municipal, working with Meridian Township, and commercial projects as well. So I'm really excited though to be able to share with you guys the updates on how the Meridian installations have gone, and really Meridian's been incredible as far as really leading the way or helping to lead the way in Michigan towards kind of the example of a sustainable community. So it's really been an honor to be part of that. Incredibly privileged to be able to help with that goal. I'd be happy to provide a screen share and then kind of show you guys what we've put together here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So we'll start the slideshow. This here is actually the Meridian Township Service Center array below, which was a flat roof installation we completed last summer. And so here's some information on that project. So it's 142 kilowatts, and it's a ballast mounted system. And it offsets approximately 100% of the service center's use. And as you can see here from the layout, this is the array itself, and specifically mounting it in a location that would allow for building expansion on this side of the building if that does happen in the future. So that was sort of strategically laid out in that manner to allow for system expansion if needed. And this produces on average approximately 161,562 kilowatt hours a year. It consists of 355 SILFAB 400 watt PV modules with 2 Sunny tri-power core commercial inverters, 208 volt. And the total project cost for everything was $291,000. That's obviously the entire installation without a tax credit as a municipality. And the cost savings on average over the 25 years was estimated at $18,300, with a total electric bill savings over the 25 years of $875,000. Over the 25 years, the estimated environmental impact would be essentially the equivalent of removing 6,736 barrels of oil not being consumed and burned, or 74,270 trees, 2,374 acres of U.S. forest equivalent. And so as of today, and here's another example of the array, the impact as of today is 80 tons of coal or CO2, excuse me, 160,000 pounds, and has produced 103.198 megawatt hours, or 103,189 kilowatt hours produced thus far. Okay, and that brings us to the fire station, which was the one of the projects that was completed the year before that. And that is a 36.48 kilowatt fixed tilt roof mount system, or fixed system. And that's offsetting approximately 59% of the fire station's use, producing estimated production of 44,260 kilowatt hours a year on average. And it consists of 114 SILFAB 320 watt modules and 3 solar edge inverters, a 14.4 kilowatt and 2 9 kilowatt. And that total cost was $85,728. This one was a little bit unique roof structure as far as there's actually metal beneath the shingles. And so there's a few different things that our installation director and guys came up with to make sure it was all engineered and properly done. And so that turned out great. Love this array. I think it looks really good, really nice. And the cost savings on average, $2,202 a year on average over 25 years, with the estimated bill savings over that same period of time of $140,785. And the estimated benefits for this one, 1,706 barrels of oil. You can see here, 18,804 trees planted, or 601.12 acres of forest. And where we're at today, so that's right now we have 53.54 megawatt hours, or 53,540 kilowatt hours, and the equivalent of 62,897 pounds of CO2 saved, or 626 trees planted at this point. And there's just another great shot of this array. Really love that. And so let's see, that then takes us to the marketplace on the green. So this is the Township's farmers market. Beautiful, new, fairly new facility. Oops. Let me go back. Sorry about that. And so as you can see here, if you guys haven't had a chance to check out this farmers market, if you're in the area, really cool spot. So I would highly recommend checking it out on Saturday. And actually, the Green Fair is coming up this Saturday, I believe. Be a great time to go. But as you can see, there's the array here. And this is a smaller one, so 3.84 kilowatts. This one posed some challenges in the beginning because there was no recorded use here. So we had to kind of work with a little extra with consumers to get this approved because we didn't have any actual evidence of consumption. So that was not the easiest thing, but we got it through and approved. So everything is good. And we had to come up with an estimated consumption number, which ended up being that 58. And that was based on a lot of different factors, but obviously estimated. And the production is 4,906 kilowatt hours a year on average, $8,872. It consists of 12 SILFAB solar 320 watt modules with a 5 kilowatt inverter. And the average estimated savings over 25 years of $1,045 a year, with $34,991 over 25 years. Here, same thing with the environmental benefits. This one obviously being smaller, 205 barrels, 2,255 trees, or 72.09 acres. And then as of today, 7.38 megawatt hours produced, or 7,380 kilowatt hours. The system's created, which is the equivalent of 11,430.95 pounds of CO2 saved, or 86 trees planted. And finally, that takes us to the upcoming project that will be happening a little bit later this year. And that's the carport at the public safety building here. So that's a 41.41 kilowatt carport array. This is a high use building. It's one of the larger buildings in the township that is used 24/7. So it does create a lot of needs a lot of electricity. So this is offsetting 17% at this time. But I know that there was an HVAC update that's helped to kind of make the building more efficient. So there are some steps I think being taken with the sustainability plan in that regard. So that helps obviously. But system cost there, $98,141, producing 46,876 kilowatt hours a year on average. It consists of, or will consist of 101 410 Jinko modules with a 43.2 kilowatt central inverter, commercial 208 three-phase. And average, or the 25-year electric bill savings is estimated at 319,123, with an estimated environmental impact of 1,954 barrels of oil, 21,548 trees planted, and 688.83 acres of forest saved. So very excited this upcoming project, that we'll have completed this year. And that brings us up to speed on the arrays thus far. So I'm happy to open the floor to questions. I will stop my screen share so everybody can see each other here. All right. Looks like Mark, you have a question?
Yes. So all these projects, would have significant savings, and I'm wondering, did you think about battery storage in these projects, especially the fire station? And if so, why didn't you move forward on batteries?
Well, I think there definitely there's certain budgetary aspects of these projects that the idea is to try to do the most with production, because in order to meet the sustainability goal, we need to obviously offset this electrical use. And so it was I think it does come down to kind of a decision between yes, batteries are great, but they come at a large cost, which then would obviously remove from the ability to create energy with an expanded PV array. And now if we were already, say, at 100% offset at the fire station and there's nowhere else to go, that would have been a different story. But obviously we were not at that 100%, more like 58, I believe. So it was kind of, I think, a choice to, we need to offset as much as we possibly can. And the most efficient way to do that and to meet the sustainability goal was to put those resources into production. So unless, John, I don't know if you have anything.
Well, a number of the buildings have natural gas backup generators, which I guess have become very common. And so, it's, since you can't justify it that you need it for sustainability reasons at this point in time, at least.
Right.
Resiliency, then you have to kind of figure out, the bigger buildings do have demand charges, and you kind of have to figure out, boy, can you, with the batteries, can you do enough shifting a load to reduce your demand charges? And, I think what's going to happen, because comes up almost for every project, is thinking ahead. Well, is the time right yet? Our battery's cheap enough.
Right.
Our demand charge is bad enough, or but it's kind of it's a consideration. It's talked about for every project.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think batteries are going to be an integral part of the future. There's no question. But generally, what we tend to recommend is, honestly, if folks are able to allow that actual, kind of the market price to kind of return to reality a little bit here. And obviously we're in a hyperinflation environment as well. You combine that with a product that is a little bit behind, panels themselves and what has happened with the cost of modules. So what I've recommended to folks is that if you are able to be a bit patient with batteries, I do think, you're going to run into a situation here in the coming years where things are going to become a lot more as the market adjusts to this, especially with the coming EV boom. There's going to be so much more battery production happening. Just like I often compare it to computers. In the 80s, how much was a computer? Very expensive, right? And then as more and more are produced, the cost comes down. You can go to Best Buy and buy a laptop now for $200, $300. I know.
So are there EV chargers on some of those buildings?
I don't believe they're there yet, John, correct? But that is, I believe, potentially part of the sustainability plan moving forward.
Yeah,
so in essence, you'll have some solar storage with that.
Yeah, what's happening, which is another factor that's kind of considered with all these different projects, is the EVs, because we just got an assessment done by Consumers Energy, which was very helpful. They kind of looked at the entire township fleet and identified about half the buildings that would be converted to EVs during their normal turnover, because fleets kind of turn over a certain number of vehicles every year. And so they kind of identified which vehicle would be the best candidates. And then, there's already a schedule for turning them over. So township right now with it's kind of dealing with the whole issue of, okay, what are we going to do with EV chargers? The township's talking about budgeting money, EV chargers. I see on the chat that Joan has a question about a companion program on the residential side, a solarized community effort. And it's funny, Joan, that you asked the question, because we do have a solarized program going. It's part of the overall GLREA effort to have solarized in various communities. And the first 4 meetings, the individuals who were doing the meetings, the solar owners, had used Rob, Absolute Solar. And so Rob and other staff have been kind of participating in these meetings. And, so far, we're not getting exactly the turnout that Ann Arbor is, but it's been going well, I think. And Rob, do you have any kind of comments about the solarized effort?
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, I didn't quite expect the turnout of Ann Arbor. I mean, I think just like density of population and a lot of other factors, I didn't quite expect it to be, the same total number maybe, but Overall, though, I mean, there has been, we feel as if a lot of interest, a lot of people very excited about it. I think it's done a tremendous amount to help get people kind of that base amount of information and knowledge needed to really consider something like this. So, I mean, I think it's been a bit variable. Some of the workshops have had more people attend than others. But I will say I feel as if it's been quite a good success, and I think a fair amount of the folks that are moving forward with it are really excited and are planning to continue to expand their systems over time as they add things like EVs and stuff like that. And so, yeah, no, I mean, I think it's really done a wonderful job of the intended goal, which was to, to get the information out there, generate the interest, allow for opportunities for people to learn about this in an open sort of forum. And so, I think we've learned from it. There's probably things we can maybe do better next year, but overall, I think it's been a great success. I think maybe we can try to come up with ways to get the word out a little more next year, or maybe possibly have maybe not as many groups, so it's combined, so there can be more energy generated, for large events or something. But I don't know, John. I think it's gone quite well. I mean, that we definitely feel that way. It's been really great to meet a lot of good people, and I wish Pete could be here to share a little more, because he's been our guy who's been at each of those events. Yeah, no, I mean, overall, definitely is a success, and I'm hoping that next year can be an even bigger turnout.
And we've been talking about maybe trying to, I'm thinking we're going to have a program next year in Meridian Township, and probably target small businesses in addition to homeowners, and see if we can get them maybe participating, especially with the township experience with their municipal buildings. It's a good starting point for kind of convince our commercial building owners to kind of look at solar, because we've been doing it, the township, and are kind of showing that it's good investment. So, Dave Curtis has a question in the chat. Hey, Dave, why don't you just unmute and ask directly?
Well, you really answered my question, but brought up another one, I guess. And maybe you mentioned it in your talking about each one of those installations. But my curiosity is the comparison between before the solar, the used amount, and the used amount compared to the generation after the installation.
Sure. So yeah, that was kind of what I tried to do, and it sorry if it wasn't as clear as I kind of hoped, but the electrical offset percentage that provided for each one, like for the fire station, 59% estimated offset, and the production thus far, it's not been 2 years, but 53,540. And then like service center, for instance, that was estimated at 100%. And then as far as production thus far there, we're at 103,189. It's not been a year yet. So I get, I'd have to go one step further maybe to actually, look at the bills most recently to see if everything's lining up the way we expected. But, without having a copy of those bills from the township, it's hard to say. But yeah, I mean, overall though, all the systems have been doing quite well. And let's see, marketplace on the green would also be very difficult, because that didn't have that preliminary consumption numbers, so that was very much an estimate. And then the carport project, we're estimating around 17%, at this point, because that is a high